Hi there, welcome everyone. Welcome to Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this show. This is a show dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music. So today we're doing an episode of What's New. This is an episode in which I do an album that's come out fairly recently. In this case, a little bit too far back than I really want, but I'm trying to catch up. As we all know, I've been saying that for most episodes, but I'm getting there slowly. So this is an album that I wanted to do back in February, an album by a band called Xandria. The album is called The Wonders Still Awaiting. They're a symphonic kind of heavy metal band, which is new to me. I'm not familiar with symphonic heavy metal bands. I've been just slowly getting into the metal realm, and there's a lot of different genres in the metal realm and a lot of different sounds. Trying to decide which sounds I like, which sounds I don't, and trying to understand how they break down a bit too. So I do beg your forgiveness if I oversimplify this or completely outreach myself. I will attempt to do what I think I know best, and that's it. So this album was released February the 3rd of this year, 2023, on Napalm Records, produced by Marco Hubaum. I think he's the guitar player for the band. And then the length is about an hour and 15 to an hour and 14 hour and 15 minutes, which is kind of long for me. I find any album over 40 minutes, 45 minutes tops, starts to lose me. And that's always been the case. Doesn't seem to have changed much. I still had that difficulty when Rush had their Clockwork Angels album. I had a real hard time getting into that album. I eventually liked it quite a bit, but it was because there was a lot of tracks on it. So we'll go on. So the next part is the members of the band. Yeah, Marco Hubaum, and I apologize if I screwed that name up. This band is also a German band, which is kind of interesting for me. I am starting to get into a lot of European bands as well. He plays guitar, keyboards, and vocals on this. I assume he does the growling vocals. There are some growling vocals on this. Amber, I'm going to screw this up, Vuvonis, I think that's how you pronounce her name. She's the lead vocalist. Rob Clawan, he's on guitars as well. Tim Schwartz is on bass, and Dimitrios Gatzos, one of those two, is on the drums. So this is a European band, of course, and a symphonic heavy metal band. So they put out this album, which is the 8th in their discography. Most of the rest of the band is fairly new to this album. I think all but Hubaum are all new to this album, their first time with the band. So probably very different sounding, maybe a little different sounding from the original 6 or 7 albums that they had before, the 7, right? However, it's fairly lengthy. It's got 13 tracks on it. I can tell you right now, without having listened to it at all, that I will probably start to drift towards the end of it because it just gets too long. So if my appeal, and I know my appeal on the later tracks isn't as good as they are on the earlier tracks, I don't know if that's because they're not as good or because my attention span kind of wanes after 45 minutes. So then you got another half an hour of an album, which is almost the length of most Kiss albums in the 1970s. Okay, so opening track's called Two Worlds. Well, before we get going on that, I'll just say my overall impression of the album, very symphonic metal. This is my first experience with that. I didn't know how that would mix. I didn't really know how that sound would mix. Mixes quite good, actually. So you got a lot of symphonic kind of keyboard sounds. You've got a lot of symphonic kind of operatic vocal sounds. Almost, most of the tracks, if you listen to them without the vocals, it almost feels like it's a movie score Almost feels that way to me. Anyway, some pretty heavy guitars on this album. There are some growling vocals done at periodics. They do have one guest, and I'm assuming, without looking it up, that Ralph Shippers on the third track was that guest. I saw the video because a lot of these songs come with a video, and I assume I didn't see him in any other video but that one, so I assume that's him, and he does the growling vocals on this album. The girl's vocals are very good. She has a very clear sounding, symphonic sounding voice. Very, very strong operatic voice, I think. Yeah, it's just really smooth. There's no kind of breaking. There's no rough parts to her music. There's no screeching, no nothing of that sort, which I thought wouldn't really translate well to a heavy metal album, but it does quite well here with her at the helm. I think she's an excellent singer. The guitar parts are, of course, really good. Drums very fast-paced. This guy is a very fast drummer, and he's good. He's pretty accurate, pretty on with most of his stuff. Like I said, the guitar parts are really good. There's a lot of riffing. There's a lot of not as much soloing as you would think you would get with heavy metal. There are some solos, pretty tastefully done, but he doesn't overdo it at all, I don't think. And then there's that whole atmospheric kind of synthesizer, atmospheric kind of movie score sound going on throughout almost the entire length of the album, with a lot of those operatic vocal backgrounds. Almost kind of reminds me of some of the Star Wars stuff from the movies. So anyways, on to the individual tracks. So we have the first track is called Two Worlds. And again, a solemn atmospheric opening with some really kind of operatic, angelic kind of vocals that are going on, kind of the background vocals. You have some heavy guitars with some symphonic vocals here. The girl's voice, I said, is clear and very kind of operatic as well. There's a heavy sound with the guitar riff and the drums on this track. So this is pretty. I went a little bit lengthy on this particular track because I think it's pretty sets the tone for the rest of this album. I gave almost all the songs a 6 and about half of them a 5. Now maybe not quite half. And I think that the front half of the album is very good. Back half not so good. Maybe they could have cut out. For me, if they had cut out about 4, maybe 5 of the songs, this would have been a much more concise, better album overall. But you know how it is nowadays. People want more, so they put on longer. The albums are longer now. I guess for most people who are getting into music and listening, they're used to that, so maybe that's good for them. I'm just not used to it, and therefore I don't enjoy it as much as I used to. Okay, so then we get to the second track, Reborn. Another very atmospheric, lots of symphonic vocals again. The girl's voice is really clear, and it has a nice kind of bottom range to it as well. It's not just a high pitch. She can do the high stuff, but this one has more of a bottom range. Very well done. I like this track as well. And I believe this is the single on the album. If you just want to go on, punch in Reborn from Xandria, Xandria, you will probably get this track because I think it's the single. Pretty good song. What else can I say about this track? It's soloing is very good on this particular track as well. Pretty strong guitar solo, I think. The third track, You'll Never Be Our God, and this features Ralph Shippers, who I assume is the guy we see in the video who's doing the growl vocals. He's good with the growl, pretty strong. But his growl kind of suits her vocals too. They go together fairly good, which surprised me even more. It's got kind of a slow guitar bit at the beginning to open, and then it's followed with some really some great vocal parts by the girl and the growling part by Ralph. Very symphonic, as most of the songs are. Very atmospheric, especially with the kind of symphonic sound all over, and the guitar solo is really good as well. Wonders Still Awaiting. This is the fourth track. Another solid track here. Kind of a I would say, oh yeah, this is the one with the piano, I forgot. Okay, so this has a piano and a kind of synth opening, which is kind of different from the first three tracks, so I like that quite a bit. Some very symphonic vocals. Vocals are high range here. She's very clear sounding. Her vocal range is very high up. She seems to have a range that can go very high and kind of medium low, and doesn't crack, doesn't break. Of course, they could have edited that out, but it sounds very smooth. Doesn't sound edited to me. The next track is Ghosts. Very heavy speed drum opening with a heavy guitar riff. This is maybe the fastest opening of all the songs. Some growl vocals on this one, some symphonic vocals as well. The girl's vocals on this are particularly fantastic, I think. And some nice shredding guitar, which is, I think, one of the few times he actually does this. He tends to be a guitar solo, but he did do some shredding guitar solo here. Shredding and solo together, I guess, maybe you want to call it. To me, this was kind of the middle of the album, and from this part on, it got a little bit weaker. A couple of good tracks at the back, but they could have done away with about 3 or 4 of the tracks, and they'd have been fine. So that's Ghost. So the next song, Your Stories I Remember. This is almost a pop song. It's a very kind of diva sounding kind of pop song that you would get on AM or maybe some FM. It kind of reminded me of the Canadian singer whose name eludes me right now, pop singer. I'm not talking about Adele. I can't remember her name, but anyways, kind of reminds me of that, because the girls' voices are within that range. I don't know if she's as good as that girl, but she definitely sounds within. And this is almost a pop diva song, I think. And it's opening because it opens with that piano and a bit of clear vocal sounds to it, which makes me believe, it's just the beginning. They do this quite a bit, and then they go into their heavy stuff, but there's no heavy stuff on this particular track. So probably the track I liked the least. I just don't think symphonic metal or heavy metal at all should have any kind of ballad-like songs on it. That's just the way I am. My Curse and My Redemption. This is another atmospheric song, another kind of poppy again, but a little bit heavier because it has a heavy guitar riff and stuff on that. So it's kind of the same as the previous song, but maybe a little bit harder than that song. Illusions in Their Name. Nice solo here. Some more growling vocals here. Some nice kind of symphonic, fast-paced drum parts as well. Just really, I like this song. It on the back half, this is probably the song I like the best. It kind of would fit in on the front half very well. Mirror in Time. Oh, sorry, I forgot one. Paradise. More of a subdued song. There are some heavy guitar riffs and drums on this part, but it's just more subdued overall. Then you've got heavy guitars on the next song, which is Middle of Time. It starts out with this kind of heavy guitar riffing opening. Vocals are very kind of atmospheric and are with some piano backgrounds here. And then it gets more symphonic parts towards the end of the song. Not a great tune. Scars is the same way. I just found it very similar song. Then you got the last 2 tracks, which are better than the previous 4 or 5. Maiden and the Child. This is a kind of a darker song, more what you would expect from heavy metal. I don't find her music overly dark. She does talk about a lot of relationship and hurt and stuff like that. But overall, I don't find it really tear-jerking or anything like that. But not a bad song, this one. And then the last track, Asteria, or Asteria, however you want to say it. Another synth opera, another synth space. This one has more of a space sound than a lot of the other ones. Song builds into a fast-paced song, psychedelic track, and then the girl's vocals are really strong again on this particular track, and it ends off the album pretty strongly. Overall, I would say this is a good symphonic heavy metal album for me. It's the first one I've ever actually kind of given a serious listen to. I think if you like this kind of music, you will like this album. But I haven't got anything really to compare it to, so I apologize for that. As I listen to more of this stuff, I will have more to compare it to. But I did enjoy the album. Is it an album I would buy? It would depend on the price. It's a new album right now, so I'm not going to be rushing out to get it because they're going to probably want a fair bit for it. I don't know that I like it enough to pay that amount for it, but what I'll probably do is wait until it comes down a bit. When it gets to a point where I think, hey, that's worth the price, then I pay it. That's how it operates with me. Very few albums get my full cash right off the hop. Now I did buy one of the albums I reviewed earlier in the year, and I paid a fairly hefty piece for it, but I liked it a lot. So, and I just bought the Jethro Tull album, but that was never not going to happen. So, some bands just get it no matter how bad the album is. I've done that with the last Yes album, which I didn't think was a bad album, but I didn't think it was worth the price that I paid either. So they have another one coming out, and I haven't listened to it yet. That'll probably be coming fairly soon, though. But do I really want to purchase? I don't think I'm going to take the bait like I did last year when or the year before. I think it was the year before when I bought the album sight unseen, and then felt that I paid way too much for it. Still feel that way. So I will wait to hear this one and then decide whether I want to pay the hefty price that I'm going to have to pay to get it, or just wait until it comes down a bit, because I noticed the other Yes album has come down about $20, and so I wished I'd waited, but I didn't. Such is the eagerness. Some bands you just give them the carte blanche, but in the case of Yes, I don't think they deserve it, so they're not getting it. So that's just the way it's going to be. Anyways, I thought this was an excellent album overall. I would probably buy it, but like I said, I'll wait until it gets to a price range that I can live with. And I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and subscribe. It's much appreciated. And this will probably come out tonight. I think I'm going to have a rare Saturday night video come out, and I'll post it for that time period. Just something different, I guess. Trying to get some of these what's new stuff done so I can get on with the more what's new, what's even more new, and catch up a bit. And we'll be doing a Jethro Tull one very soon as well for the rock flute. I don't know how you want to say it. I haven't decided yet. But I've listened to it once already. I think I'll listen to it again after this, and then we'll see what I do with it. Okay? Take care. So have yourself a good evening. Bye.